everybody. It is lovely to see you all here with us this evening. We have a lovely service lined up. Frank. It's been a while since you've done the music, Frank, hasn't it? So we'll let you off. Good job. So huge welcome to our visiting mediums this week. So in church we've been blessed and joined by Lainey Bain, our good friend of the church. Pleased to meet you all. Welcome, Lainey. And also to the lovely Sharon Law, who is waiting in the wings for everybody who are watching the online service. Sharon will join you a little bit later on to offer your messages from loved ones. So welcome, Sharon. Thank you for joining too. I will now hand over to Lainey to open the service in prayer. That sets our intention and starts us off nicely. That will be followed by us all saying the Lord's Prayer. So I will just hand this over to Lainey. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. If you'd like to get into your quiet space and you feel comfortable, that's online as well. And have a good evening, Sharon. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Divine source, guide, spirit friends and loved ones, thank you for bringing us all here, gathered together wherever we are around the world. Please surround each and every one of us with your beautiful golden light of healing, love and protection. And I ask that you work with myself and through Sharon and also that we may bring that love and that evidence from the loved ones in the spirit world to those here on the earth plane. Always, always with upliftment, laughter, evidence, and always in love. Amen.
Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Lovely. Okay, so I'll light the church candle now. And remember, as we do this, we just focus on love. We can invite our loved ones in spirit to join us so that we can feel their energy around us. And then we will go into our healing prayer. So may the lighting of this candle flame act as our intention then tonight, just to send that love and that healing out and to invite our loved ones in. Just get the healing book. If you haven't already, those watching online, do put the names into the comment box. Any names that you'd like me to read out in church tonight, and I'll add those onto our list at the end. So just take a few moments then just to settle yourselves down, because although I speak from here and I read the names out, your energies all join in to the collective, all those online and in church, and that just builds the energy, makes it bigger, stronger and more powerful. So just take a few deep breaths if you can. Close your eyes if you're comfortable to. And perhaps you can just repeat in your mind the names as I read them out, just to intensify that energy and that intention, I guess. So through our joint prayers, we place in God's care all those that we come to name and remember now. We ask for healing for Darren, for Claire, for Derrin, Lorraine, Elaine, Kelly, Annabelle and Bobby, Terry Franklin, Donna Marie, Alison Lay, baby Freddie, John and Kim, Heather, Veronica, Terry, June, Chris and Gary, Margaret Knight, Billy, Steve, Peggy, Mark, Ray, Lewis, Nicola, Claire, Rihanna, Tracy, Sharon and Ricky, Ryan, Laura, Karen and Mark, Pauline and Steve, Barb and Pete, Leslie and Brian, David Hunt, Paul, Lucky the cat, Stephen Alsop, Nick Burnett and family, Karen, Jeffrey, Victoria, Philip's family for healing, Sheena, Bill, Lewis, Harris, Shirley and Trevor Williams, Helen Louise Ayres, Carolyn May Sandbrooks, Yvonne, Alison, Yvonne and family, Sheena, Bill and Helen. So please join with me in healing prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you join us tonight as we lift our hearts to you. We ask that you surround us with your grace. Allow each of us to be a channel for healing energy. And as we focus our minds on all those that we love, who are in need of healing now, we ask that you fill our hearts. Fill our energy with the power of your love. That all those that we've just named, those people, animals, places in our thoughts now, we ask that they be surrounded by healing light. They feel it nurturing them, that their suffering is eased. Please, Father, protect our animal kingdom, Mother Earth, the world of nature. We also pray that all of the animals in the world and the children that need to be fed, nurtured and cared for, we ask that they are. We pray for healing, love, peace to reside in our hearts and in the hearts of all those that have the power to make those positive changes for mankind and for our planet that's so needed. We ask that countries unite in love and in peace. We will now sit in silence for a minute, feeling your presence, feeling your strength and your healing light move through us and out to all those that we think of in our minds before we sing Gracious Spirit together. It's in the front of your purple books. Please, Lord, place blessings on all of those joining in prayer tonight, online and in church. We ask that they too receive your healing, your love and your light. We ask all of this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. our loved ones who are suffering, need light and care. Loving Father, hear us, hear us. Gracious Spirit, may thy presence shed a healing light, turning all the nights of darkness into glorious day. Loving Father, hear us, hear us. Gracious Spirit, as thou flame, be their light and guide. Lead them to the heavenly kingdom, safely by thy side. Loving Father, hear us, hear us. Thank you, Mum. Well done. Good job. I will now hand over to Peter for this evening's Bible reading. Thank you.
Evening all. Welcome to those online. What some lovely weather we've been having, really warm, nice weather. So I think we deserve it from what we've been through in the last couple of years. But it was a bit too much for me today. It got very hot. I was in the garden, but I had to go indoors. In the end, it was too hot. Tonight's reading is about the Transfiguration. Last week at Pentecost, we read of the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God descending on the people of all nations, of all languages. And Apostle Peter said of God, I will pour out my Spirit on all people in a spiritual truth. And I added that whether you believe it or not, or even realize that you have received this link with God, it will always be there in your inner self, and you will know when the time is right for you. It will come in some way that has meaning to you. It is trying to understand this, our inner self, that has led me to the reading tonight. There is a well-known saying, to see thyself as others see you. I would add, to see your inner self as spirit, and as the angels see you. Excuse me. I believe that Matthew, Mark, and Luke, in their testaments, are giving us an insight into this. Matthew said in the Transfiguration, meaning being more beautiful and glorious and exalted, that Jesus' face shone like the sun, clothes became as white as light. Mark said his clothes became dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could have bleached them. Luke said his face changed and his clothes came as bright as a flash of lightning, giving us a further message when he said, 2 men appeared, Moses and Elijah, appeared in a glorious splendor, proving again that afterlife and eternity really exists. I believe that this reference to the bright white dazzling light is love, Jesus being the greatest power of light and love. As we keep hearing in the readings, that we are here to learn and live by the power and the love to fulfill God's greatest commandment. And when we shed our material being, we return in our inner spiritual being, shining light with all our achievements. Luke's statement of the 2 men, Moses and Elijah, appearing in glorious splendor, suggests to me that we will be able to appear in any form that would identify us to whoever we visit, and the splendor of our garments and the raiment provided for us by our Father God and the befitting of that of a child of God, as mentioned in previous readings. In summary, if and when we can see our loved ones who have passed, they will have bodies of light and be in glorious splendour. Remember, all Bible readings are there to fit or meet a purpose. Tonight's reading, Matthew 17, 1-9, the Transfiguration. After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, a bright cloud covered him, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell down to the ground terrified. But Jesus came up and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus instructed them, "Don't tell anyone what you've seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." God bless that reading, and thank you. You can unhitch me.
Unhitched. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Lovely. Right, so we will say goodbye to everybody watching online. So from everybody here at Thundersley in church, good night. And hopefully we'll see you again next week. And lots of love to Sharon for a wonderful service. Good night.
See if they can see me.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. I saw lots of comments earlier of people saying they couldn't hear. So if someone in the comments can let me know they can definitely hear, fantastic. Right, jolly good. I'm guessing now that everyone's written that, you can all hear me. So, this evening I'm going to start by talking about the power of words and the power of language. Oh, good. Glad everyone can hear me. When we speak and use our words and are, very clear in what we're saying, we all know to be kind and loving and caring to one another and to each other. But are we always that kind and caring when it comes to the language we use when we're talking about ourselves? Because if we don't look after the people, if we do not look after ourselves, then our cup is never, ever going to be full enough to actually look after those around us and to do the caring of those around us. Now, there's some words that was pondering earlier of different words that can really either empower us or depower us. Words like can't and try and should. These are all words that when they're used, they take away our power. They take away our ability to be able to work and do all the things that we choose to do, to really work from a place of true love and light, a place from within inside of us, a place from within connecting to the divinity. See, even listening to the reading this evening, the Bible reading that was read this evening in the church so very nicely there, of the whole beautiful story of the transition and being able to see in these robes and glowing, this beautiful being, and this whole concept of being able to see the divine being, the divine loved ones, and those who have passed over. And that whole light and that whole being and that whole tradition, and knowing that death is not the end, that we go on, life is eternal. Albert Einstein a long time ago discovered that, because science is not so far behind spirituality these days. And he discovered a long time ago that energy only transforms, it cannot die. And as in essence we are energy particles, the same must be true of us, thus proving scientifically of a spirit world, even if they do not realize it yet. And so we need to work with what we have here on the earth plane, and we need to work with the power of choice and the choices that we can make and the choices that we can work with in our everyday life. One of those choices is the language we use. One of those choices is the words that we choose to use for ourselves. So we can change. We can change some of these disempowering words and reword so that we are empowered in our own self, in our own energy, and connecting to that divine light within. Because each and every one of us here, whether you get a message this evening, whether you're touched by the spirit, I would ask that everyone here is able to take from the words of my message, from the words of my address, from the words of the Bible reading, from the songs, from the beautiful energy, both from inside the church and here in the online community. Because to me, what is really important about a getting together in any spiritual shape or form is sharing words of upliftment and joy and peace. And anyone that ever comes into these environments, they should be able to come in and leave feeling uplifted, feeling like they're supported, feeling like they're being noticed. And it's so important to learn how to work with our own words and our own energy, and recognize where we need rest, recognize when it's time for us to work in service for others, and recognize when it's time to take a step back. Because there are so many people and so many givers within this movement who wish to move forward and are wanting to get in the race, because, you know, we're in a society that everything has to be done yesterday. Everything has to be done. Quick, 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 quick. Now, you'd have thought if COVID was going to teach anyone anything, that it would have taught people the importance of slowing down, the importance of giving time and space for yourself, of actually being able to look after yourself as well as others. And hoping that working together in light and in love, as we work with our words, as we work with the wisdom and the divinity of the Spirit, as we connect in love ourselves, giving yourself that quiet space and that quiet time. Spirit never ever leave you. They are always around you. In fact, if you've been talking to your loved ones recently, they hear you, but do you give them enough time to stay quiet and listen for their answer? It won't necessarily come in the way that you expect. It won't necessarily come with words so really, really clear. It might be that a bird appears outside your house. It might be you see a bunch of feathers. It might be some thoughts just appear in your head. But you need to find that time and silence. Yes, indeed, Jill, it is hard to look after ourselves, but we do need to learn. Because when we don't learn about looking after ourselves, we're not there for anybody else. We can't be, because we have to be fully present in our own being. And for your loved ones to connect tonight and at any point, we need to be fully present in our hearts and in our minds. And with that, I will say God bless for the address, and I will start with messages. Now, I have an extremely unusual person with me who's actually been with me for quite a while, well before I started the service, and is confusing me. But hopefully someone can take this lovely young man. And the reason I'm confused is because they've dressed themselves up as a chimney sweep. Now, seeing as chimney sweeps of children died out many years ago, not quite sure why that's how they're showing themselves. But it's a young man, and the scene actually that I'm being shown, so it could be that what I'm being shown is something to do with acting, is actually the scene of Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins, where he's dancing on the roof with the chimney brush and the chimney sweep. And I get the impression from this man that he is actually somebody, he isn't actually a child, but he had a younger energy, so 40s, 50s maybe, possibly even less, certainly got a very young baby face, and is a gentleman that very much he was very much like the Dick Van Dyke character, actually. Just looking in the comments, see if anyone's Trina, can I work with you, please? Hopefully someone will stick that on the phone screen for me. Thank you very much. Yeah. So would it make sense to you, Trina, that your uncle was somebody that liked to clown around, liked to have a bit of a joke and a bit of a laugh, had quite a sense of humour about him? And he's got this real way he came through, because, as I said, he's been with me like well before the service, and I thought, I can't give a chimney sweep. This is bananas. But literally he came through in like that character with the chimney sweep dancing on the rooftops. So obviously I don't think he was really dancing on the rooftops, but is this real feel of somebody that very much liked drama, liked to act, liked to entertain. Would that make sense? And I've also got with him, although he had this great sense of humour and this great want to sort of, it's almost like he lit the stage up, if you like. He lit it Oh, he was a roofer at one point. Okay. I want to say, so I don't know if he performed in shows like amateur wise, but it's like I feel like he lit the stage up in any place that he went. And it's almost like I'm not sure if it's a pub venue or a amateur theatre I'm seeing, but I feel like he actually quite liked a little bit of a sing-song as well. Not 100% sure he's laughing. His voice might not have been 100% amazing, but what he lacked in tune, he said he made up for in fun. He was in a band. And he's giving me this real sense of just really wanting to bring a huge amount of joy in your life at the moment, Trina, because he's telling me that joy has not been your best friend lately, and you've been sort of searching in your soul. You've been sort of searching for lots of answers, and not always feeling like you're being heard or getting the answers to the questions. And I feel like when Uncle's on the earth plane, I feel like he actually, you had quite a good bond together. He would have had a fair part in your life, in your childhood. And he's almost a little bit like a second dad. In fact, in some ways, I feel like you were able to speak to him more freely than you were your own parents. If there was any problem with your parents? But he was somebody that you could confide in, and somebody that you felt very safe to be able to say what you needed to say. And he almost had this knack of a way of making everything right. It's also showing me like so I'm seeing like a theatre stage. Again, it doesn't look like a really big one, but a small one on this theatre stage. But he's holding this prop, unusual prop. Seeing of things. It's like this broomstick. But there's some sort of joke about this broomstick. And because I said about the chimney sweep earlier, it's like it's being held upside down, like that scene in Mary Poppins. Almost being held up like a light. I know, like the torch that you get at the Olympics, but it's definitely a broom. Being held upside down back front. I think this is like he's joking in his way, but I kind of want, and it's a very unusual thing to be giving me and showing, but he's giving it me, so I'll give it to you, is that there's something about well, whilst you're busy trying to clear out your house, Trina, see if you can have a look for it like literally it looks like a prop, but it's a prop of like this witch's broomstick is the best way I can describe it. And I don't know, somehow or another I feel it got left behind, and he left it, and it's somewhere knocking around, so somehow it might have ended up in your house. And I also want to say, Uncle, he has got such a heart of gold. Although he's this joker, he also knew when to be serious, and he did know the right time to actually, hold in his heart and give a hug and say the right words that needed to be said. And he was a man of principle too. And family was so important to him. So important to him. that it's like he made it his mission to bring everyone together. But for him, family wasn't always blood. For him, he had community friendships. He had family friendships. I don't see many people that didn't like him. In fact, feel like he was really missed when he went, because 44 is no age. He was taken way too young. Well, he's forgotten that, because all he remembers is the joy that you lot had together, and that he very much still loves you and all of your family, because he has come through with nothing but laughter and humour and joy. And this, going back to the address that I gave of how important our words are and how short time can be, that we really need to choose our language and to choose the way we are. And before I leave you and move on to the next person, I'm going to leave you with his love. But I also want you to know that he is there and he's ready to help you jump out of a little rut that you've got yourself in. You said that you had a daughter that's on stage. Well, it's time for you to take the limelight. It might not actually be in a theatre, but you have a lot to give to this world, and you've been hiding away for too long. So he's about to jump on the stage next to you, give you a little bit of a push, and he's going to be there when you shine your light, as you were intended to do. And I will say God bless. Now, do excuse me, guys. I'm still trying to get used to following comments. About time you did then. Okay, I've now got the most beautiful lady from Spirit, who's her heart of gold, absolute heart of gold. In fact, I want to say that it's an angelic presence. It is real, AD. I feel a mother's love, a very deep mother's love, who very much cared very much for her children. Feel like there's possibly 2 daughters there, someone else, not sure. 2 daughters is what it feels like. And I want to say with this lady that she was a bit shorter in stature, but what really stood out about her was her knack of being able to cure an atmosphere. So I want to say that when she walked in, just looking to see if anybody is right. When she walked into the community or into a home or into any place, in fact, you could, the saying, you could cut the air with a knife. Well, if she walked in, somehow or another, any atmosphere just went like that. Absolutely, completely. Sheena. Can I have Sheena's comments on the screen, please, Rob? Thank you very much. I know there's quite a few people, and people have said mum, and I did say mum. But I just feel there's a lot of you can take this lady. So, Sheena, would you understand the idea of a really angelic presence when your nan walked into the room, and a person who would have been known as the peacemaker? Does that make sense to you? Okay. And also, I want to say with her, like I said at the start, this heart of gold, but she was very quietly spoken and very wise for her time. She knew exactly what to say and when to say it, and more importantly, what not to say and when not to say it. She had a real aura about her that, as I said, if she walked into a room and it had an atmosphere, it'd be like, wow, what just happened? It literally as if an angel had walked into the room. She had that bigger presence, but she was a very humble lady, and she certainly was no show off. She was going to say that she wouldn't take fools lightly. She would not have trodden with fools lightly, and was firm and fair. But she was also somebody that would give those that deserved it all of her time. She was able to listen like nobody else. She had a great ability of not necessarily needing to speak, and could let other people that really needed to talk. And she didn't need to say anything, but she could just absorb the energy and absorb what they needed. So she's showing me like, it sounds like a little cottage, be a cottage, but it's a cottage-like feel to it. And there's a room that she's taking me into with a lot of pots and pans seem to be hanging on the wall. Not doing hanging on the wall, but they're hanging on the wall. Because I don't feel like she had loads and loads of space, but she also had this amazing ability of making really small spaces, being able to use the space in really clever ways. And as I'm in this, okay, I'm going to your mum's house now, am I? Well, as I go in, I got the pots and pans on the wall. I'm guessing Nan must have come into your mum's house at some point. That there, I also feel like, so I'm just going past those pots and pans for a minute, and there's like this big, I don't know if it's a larder, but it's a kind of big tall cupboard which is literally stacked full of food. Because either your mum or your nan or both never liked to be without, because they always wanted, and still, to be able, if someone came, to be able to feed them, to be able to give them hospitality, or your mum's house. Okay, mum's still on the earth plane, Gina. Right, I'm hoping that mum is still on the earth plane. Yes. But the nan I've got is mum's mum. And what I feel is they've got a huge amount of traits that are very, very similar. Both of them like to have, well, mum still likes to have an open house, likes to be able to give hospitality, people come into the home, she wants to be able to feed them. It's maybe not quite the same angelic presence, but does have a really good listening ear. And I want to say that is a real close bond with almost everybody. In the family, and I feel almost like the whole female line of the family, even if you went back, if you trace back, there is this real ability to connect with that silence and that silent energy. And that's what makes that good listening angelic presence. I'm being taken back into this house again, into mum's house again, and to this larder, this food. And I think it's all about being prepared and knowing that you'll always have enough. Because I feel like there's been a few questions around you lately, and a little bit of concern about, how are you going to move forward? How are things going? Things aren't quite working as you had thought that they were going to. But it's almost like this cupboard of food is a metaphoric message of you will always have enough. You will always have everything that you need because you are so connected to that divine light within you. And you have your beautiful nan watching over you, literally shining light. In fact, I feel like there are times in the evening when all the lights are off that you felt that you've imagined a very bright light shining through. It's going towards your bedroom or somewhere that you sit during the evening. But you're not imagining it. It's very real, and it's your nan projecting her light from the spirit world just to let you know that she's never forgotten you. She's never forgotten your mum either. And I feel like mum's had a couple of worries lately, just minor little health issues. She's saying there's nothing to be concerned about. You and your mum have got lots of work to be doing on the earth plane, and everything is going to be very sortable, outable. It's nothing to be concerned about. And she would really like, and she's showing me a ring. It's a little pretty small ring. Very small finger. This ring would have gone on. I've got pretty small hands, and it looks like it would only fit my small finger. And it's got like a little pink stone in it. But I feel like it's here, so I'm not sure. I think mum might have it. It was left for mum. But she just really, really needs you to both know that you are being so looked after right now, and so much care and so much love is being shed upon you that that she doesn't want you to worry or be concerned, because everything you need is there for you. Everything you need, everything that you choose will be there for you, allowing that light in. And such a lovely lady. I could stay with her all evening. But I won't, because other people need messages. So I will say, God bless, and take all of her love, and give the love to your mum as well. If she's not watching this evening, hopefully she also believes in the spirit world, because very much your Nan loves all of you and all of her family. Going. Okay, I've got a gentleman with me now who is, I want to say he's wearing breeches, I think they're like these, I think that's the right name, but it's the thing that holds up your trousers. And he's got good stature, good posture, and he's very well spoken, and somebody that would, he's either, and as he's not somebody that he would have been a very private person here upon the earth plane. So I'm getting the impression, because that's how he's coming through to me, of an academic feel, somebody that was well read and well spoken. But I don't know whether they actually got the opportunity in life to fulfill that academic potential due to financial circumstances. Now, I feel like I'm going a generation back now. It's an older gentleman. It's the 70s, possibly even older, although have quite a young heart. And I feel like I'm on like a grandfather link here. That this gentleman, so this gentleman, he's either a grandfather or he's like a great uncle, somebody that's going back a generation, and possibly your mum's granddad. What I'm seeing, I'm just going to talk a little bit more whilst things, is there's a black and white photo somewhere of this gentleman. I said, it's like got breeches holding up these trousers, quite old-fashioned, and he would have been quite old-fashioned in his way, that it was a man's place was in the work and a woman's place was in the home, which would have been right of his time anyway. That would have simply been the way they thought. So it wasn't like he was chauvinistic. It's just, it was the way it was for the generational time that I am talking about. I can see a Navy and an Army uniform, but not sure if he actually served in it or there was choice, because I don't see him fighting. Just looking. Right. Sorry, the reason I stopped talking was I was reading the comments to see if I was feeling drawn. Elaine, could I have Elaine's comments up, please? Hi, Elaine. So, would you understand? Right, I'm not sure. whether he would have passed before you were born, because he's not actually telling me that. But if he did, he certainly seems to know a huge amount about you, and that you would know about him. Would that be right? Kind of felt like you did know him, but he might have died when you were very young. So what I was getting with him was passed before you were born, yeah. But you know of him. Do you understand that black and white photo that I saw of him in breeches holding up these trousers? And then he was showing me like this navy and an army uniform. But I said he wasn't fighting. You said he's in the medical corps. Sure if he's actually doctor, but I could see like he's had a very much made an appearance on this photo. It's lovely. Okay. I want to say I feel like stories have been told to you over the years of him. So although you never actually knew him, in some ways you feel like you do, because your family will have spoken of him. And I feel like you should have known about him that he was quite rigid in his way, that he would have had that old-fashioned idea of the man's place is the work. Yep, stories. That the man's place is the work, that the man's the provider, and that the women look after the home, look after the children. But as I said, it was not in any chauvinistic way. It was just simply the way that was that generation. Very strict, very, very disciplined in his own character, but also disciplined in the way he brought up his own family. Would this be on Dad's side of the family? Because I feel like I'm being shown. Correct, lovely. Dad's still here though. Delay. What I wanted to say, oh, you were thinking your mum's side, okay. The only reason that I said Dad's side was because I'm feeling like there's a man on the earth plane that's similar with slightly modern views. And I just thought maybe that was your dad. Unless, of course, there's a brother that's still here. Would you understand a gentleman that's on the earth plane that's similar to him? Okay. On Dad's side, you understand, yeah. So, but Dad is here. On the earth plane. Because it's like I'm being shown someone here that is okay. My dad and I saw your dad's right. Okay. Dad's dad. Yes, that'd be your granddad. Yeah. So I was trying to work that out there. Yeah. what he is, so it's like I'm being shown by the gentleman in spirit somewhere it's on the earth plane, and I'm pretty sure it's your daddy showing me, saying that your dad also has this sort of discipline and strictness about him, but he's just a bit more modern in his way. So it's not, everything isn't quite as rigid, isn't quite as, there isn't quite that black and white. Women can, your dad's saying, yes, women can work now, and you know, he doesn't have that issue, but he does he also is someone that follows a lot of routine and likes things to be in set ways, and there are certain things that he still likes to be quite traditional, like the breadwinner side. Although he doesn't have an issue with women working, he still feels that it's good for the man. He feels that idea of the man providing, and but very loving. So although strict, nothing that was ever said or done was ever done to demean or in a nasty way. It was always done from a place of love, and I feel the same would have been true of your granddad. And I think there were times when your dad and your granddad might not have had the best of relationships, or might not have seemed to have had the best of relationships, but it was always being done in the eyes of granddad from a place of love to bring out the best, because that's what he knew, and that's the way that he knew. I'm being shown this ridiculously big first aid kit. Now, I know you just said he's in the medical corps, but it's like huge. And I kind of want to say that I think he would have used it when he was out doing the medical stuff. But I also feel like he would have kept a very big first aid type thing in the home, because he was actually very good with injuries. He never panicked. He always had a very oh my goodness, we are in a bit of a mix-up, aren't we? So your mum's granddad was in medical corps, not your dad's. Okay. Do I have two people with me? They do like doing this to me sometimes, Elaine. Sorry about that. Okay. Right, I think I do have, yeah, I've got both of them here, haven't I? And they're both vying for attention. Which is quite funny, because I don't think that either of them in life actually would have pushed for attention and stuff. They made themselves known, but they weren't people that were pushy. Right, so I'm going to go to your mum's dad for a minute, because I'm being shown this medical kit. Your dad's dad, just have to wait a minute if he's got more to say. Would you understand that your mum's dad then, no attention, yeah, would you understand then that your mum's dad, not just in the medical corps, but actually had a really good presence of mind when it came to minor injuries, just had this instinct to know what to do and would get on and do it? You know, if somebody is bleeding on the street, he would kind of just go into autopilot mode and be able to go and help, but help correctly and really bring a sort of calm to the situation, be the practical person actually getting the things done. Would you know that? And again, that I feel like there would have been this first aid kit that could well still be in your mum's home. Obviously not with the same stuff in it. Was a very good medical man. So it wouldn't have all the same stuff in it because that would have gone out of date by now. But it's like a really quite big green box, it looks like to me, but with everything you can imagine. Bandages, lint, creams, this, that, and the other. Anything you can have, things to bind things with, pins, all bits and pieces. But I feel like even in the home, he would have been able to do this. Ooh. Yes, I did think I was in a rather hot country, I must admit, because it's getting very hot. And I was actually going to say that he had in Africa, yeah. I was actually going to say that he seemed to be able to actually tolerate the heat really well. It didn't seem to bother him all that much. So today's heat definitely wouldn't have been an issue. But I want to say with Grandad here, what he's bringing across is this practical element and this, that everything he could solve all these practical issues. He was never quite so good with the emotional stuff. That wasn't really his bag. But anything that had a practicality, an injury, a physical injury, it'd be there. He could do it. He could sort it out. And he'd be the sort of person that you would want to be there if there was an accident. And I feel that somebody has taken that on. It might be because that's Mum's granddad. This might even be Mum, who I believe is still here. That has taken that, although Mum has got the emotional stuff as well, that she can too be very practical when it comes to injuries of all sorts of different kinds, and that she keeps her head so that she's somebody you would want around if you were to be in an accident. No one else medical. Okay. Not actually medical. Not actually medical. Just able to keep a cool head. Would it make sense that Mum, if you had an accident at home or people, like the kids had accidents in the home, kept a cool head and always seemed to know the right thing to do? Not actually a medical background as such. Maybe inherited that cool-headedness from Grandad. You can keep a cool head. That's good. So is Grandad then telling me that you have inherited that side of things, that if there's an accident or there's something, that you can stay detached, not in an uncaring way, but detached enough to be able to do what needs to be done to help mend, get the right people, get the right equipment? Would that make sense? Because one of the things that he keeps, okay, I wonder if that's what he's showing me. Right, so what Grandad was showing me though is that this real calm presence that stayed. You were able to do everything right and able to keep yourself as safe as you could in that situation until help came. Does that make sense? Because what I'm getting with him is that he was somebody that liked to fix everything, and that he said that's kind of passed through the generations. So Mum likes to be a fixer, you like to be a fixer, not necessarily physically, but wanting to get everything right, because there's, you know, he might have said it when he was here, but there's a lot of compassion and love as well, holding to let you know that, you know, you are protected, and that there was a purpose to the accident that you went through, that is going to actually help you grow. And from that, I feel like something's coming that's going to help you be able to help other people. Something that may have been in your mind because you've not been able to do everything that you'd intended. You were forced to slow down, if you like, because you were going 9 to the dozen and not giving time to you. But I also want to say, with the dad's, your dad's dad that originally came through, that he's also, it's almost like the two, yeah. So basically been completely forced to slow it right down. But I want to say with both of them that they're giving different strengths of character. So your dad's dad said was this real strict, firm, discipline, you know, short stature. He's bringing that discipline, that routine, that follow the plan, follow the rules, follow the way, that's going to allow you to recover to a position where you can do what it is that you originally wanted to do, but everything was moving way, way too fast. And now, as the universe sometimes does, it took over, and the divine planning was different. And mum's dad, your granddad on mum's side, he is your practical, I'll say carer, practical person who is trying to put and impress to you the right things to do and the right way to be able to move forward without trying to, bring back the pun, run before you can walk. That you are going to be there, and they're both going to be standing by your side, because the healing is there, the healing is present, and they are there to be either side of you and to really, really give you the strength and the courage that you need at this time, but to know that things are going to move forward from this point onwards, that you have a good strength, that you have a good ability to heal, and that you will. I don't know what the medical profession have said, but I feel from both granddads, I do see you walking. So you may not be able to now, but somehow or another in the future, with the right routine and the right direction, really moving forward with that healing, that love, and that practicality. And I'll leave you with all their love, because I've just seen the time. And for all those that didn't get direct message, I do hope that you could take some of the beauty from the words of the address but each and every one of you know that your loved ones are always walking by your side. They're always there, and any time that you wish to connect, you just need to sit in the quiet and they will be there for you. And I will say God bless. Thank you for working with me, Elaine.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Sharon. Well, we have Frank's cards coming up, so we will come back to you for closing prayer after that, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, friends. What a lovely evening so far with Sharon there. Well, great to have you all with us tonight, and I think we've got some new people online, so you're very welcome. I'm glad you could join us. As Sharon said, the time runs out pretty fast, and we can't get round to everyone, unfortunately. But that's why Frank from our church draws 3 of his animal cards each week, so that everyone can take an uplifting thought for the week away tonight. So let's see what Frank's got for us. There's 3 cards at the start of this clip, and just tune into the crystal that you feel drawn to, and let's see what Frank's got for us today. So let's have a look.
Good evening. Our first crystal this evening is the rose quartz. And with that goes the card for the dove. The dove brings a sense of hope, of peace and innocence. Dove is all about the beginning of new emotional experience, be that romantic or platonic. Even the rebirth or birth of an idea or a venture. It is also a signal of the awakening of spiritual gifts and insight, and many other new things in our life. The dove is the universal sign of peace and love, and it is closely related to that. The symbolism of love and romance is so closely connected with the dove, and we see the dove on our card here with her wings spread. She's almost begging you to come to her for a hug. What more could you want? It was also, in spiritual terms, the dove that brought the olive branch to the ark, signaling that there was land re-emerging. And when we look at this card, we see water gently trickling over the edge into a pool of calm and peace below. Very much symbolic of life, things around us gently changing and bringing about calm where there has been turbulence in our lives. We see the new fruit ripening on the trees, all a sign of new beginnings. And again on this card we see the butterfly, which we now know is always a symbol of transformation, a symbol of times moving on and new ventures and new times ahead. I feel that's a good card, that, and I hope you've liked it. Our second crystal is the amethyst, and with that goes the card for the dragonfly. This card is all about change and understanding one's emotions and controlling one's thoughts and seeing the magic of life. In life, changes will happen, while how you deal with those situations is virtually vitally important. The way in which you think about them might it be even more so important. If you perceive things as negative and harmful, if you perceive them like that, they will likely make you even more unhappy than you already were, and depression may set in, and it can be more difficult to bounce back from that situation. However, if you can remember that heaven loves you and always has only the highest intention for you, then it's a lot easier to recover from these situations and move forward and try to focus on positive solutions. The dragonfly is a very special insect. They live their lives partly in water and partly in the air, symbolising a brilliant mix of emotion and intellect. Their flying ability is unique. They can not only move forward and backwards, but they can also hover rather like a helicopter, because unlike other insects, their wings can move independent of each other. You can be like the dragonfly. You can choose to remain in a holding position and stay where you are, or you can move in reverse and backtrack on things. Or if you like, you can make a very life-changing choice and move forward. Dragonflies ask that you believe in the magic of life, rather than focusing upon the bumps in the road along the path. Dragonfly has been around on Earth for a very long time, over 150 million years, and it was here before the dinosaurs. It has evolved very little in that time, apart from getting perhaps somewhat smaller. And that tells us that we should not change things for the sake of change. But if there are things that need fixing, things that need dealing with, then we should grasp hold of them and make those changes that are necessary. And our third crystal is the citrine. With that goes the card for the magpie. This card tells you that a situation maybe is not what it appears to be. It warns you of the need to look for a better solution to a problem, to lose something valuable. Things aren't always as they appear. So because of that, even the best laid plans can sometimes fail to succeed. Time will bring clarity in most situations, but the magpie can give you a head up right now that your plans require another look at. Think of the time you will save and the energy if you do it now. Magpies also indicate that your current situation might cost you something important. That could be something material, a possession, something valuable, or maybe something less material, like peace of mind. The key to avoiding such loss is to be alert and be aware of the result of your actions, and also be aware of what others may be doing behind your back. Magpies are beautiful and fascinating birds. They're also rather unpredictable. Therefore, their symbolism can vary. Some will see them as a symbol of good fortune, and we would argue that this card we have tonight brings a message that is positive rather than negative, and says its purpose is to help you get on the right track and be successful. Because magpies are scavengers who like shiny objects, they're also known for taking small items that sparkle into their nests. The whistle in our nest here is the magpie's symbol from heaven, alerting you to take a look at your current plans. Are you being distracted by something? And it's time for you to focus much more closely. But when we look at the magpie on our card, we see in his beak he holds a key. This tells us that we hold the key to our future, nobody else, just us. And it asks that we take hold of the key, unlock our future, and go forward and reap success from our ventures. 3 very good cards there tonight. I particularly love the magpie. I think the symbolism is so important. Thank you for listening to me.
Lovely, thank you, Frank. Okay, friends, let's bring tonight's service to a close. We'll go back to Sharon for the closing prayer, and then we'll play out our closing Vesper. So, Sharon.
Great Spirit, Mother Earth, Mother Father God, thank you for all those who came from the Spirit this evening and came bringing the messages of wisdom, joy, healing and light. Thank you for the words of the Spirit from the inspiring messages, and thank you for all the joy and upliftment, all the beauty and wonder. We ask that each and every one here present this evening receives light and love, is able to be touched by the divine spark within, can find that place of silence and stillness, and be able to be touched by their loved ones. Now that the loved ones may return back home, we also ask that each and every one of you is walked and worked in protection until such time as we choose to work and meet again. Amen.
Well, a big thank you to Sharon Law for tonight's service, for a wonderful address earlier, and for those lovely messages. Thank you, Sharon. Great to have you back with us. Thank you to Lainey Bain, who's our medium in church tonight and looking after the congregation in church. Hope you had a good evening there. Thank you to Donna for chairing tonight in church. Thank you to Peter for the Bible reading. And thank you to Frank for your cards, as always. It's been a great evening here. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you can join us next Sunday at 6:30 again. But until then, have a great week ahead. Good night.